Hey folks, so I'm no stranger to criticizing what I call the fake left, revisionists, anarchists, who've given up class struggle but still want to appropriate the label of leftist for themselves. These are mostly wealthy liberals, academic intersectional feminists, and critical race theorists who are just here for the radical chic, but who would never spend any actual time with us actual filthy pores. Today, I want to criticize another frustrating trend in leftist discourse, what I'm going to call the pop left. And as someone who was a teenager in the early 2000s, I'm easily triggered by anything with the word pop in it, followed by a hyphen. Yes, like the pop punks of my youth, pop leftists vomit out catchy, easily digestible wisdom that hits the right emotions, but makes you cringe when you think about it just a little bit and have a moment of self reflection. We all know the pop left. It's the sort of thing you used to see on HuffPost before that slipped into irrelevance, and now you're more likely to find on BuzzFeed or Vox. Oh, nice guys are just creepy incels who need a shower. White men are just mad because they're losing their privilege. Gender is a social construction, and other thought-stopping cliches. I'm not saying this is exclusively a problem of the left, like far from it. If anything, the right is even more guilty of this analysis-free fluff than the left is. The difference is nobody but the useful idiots who listen to those pundits take them seriously. Like, do you seriously think conservative billionaires give a damn about trans bathroom access? Not unless they have to pay for that increased bathroom access, which, spoilers, they'd already have had to do if being trans were treated as a disability. Trans medicalism. Not just scientifically correct as always, but once again, the best legal grounds for trans rights. No, what bothers me about the pop left is how seriously their sophistry is taken in by influential, wealthy people. Like, I get it. I spend most of my day around wealthy liberals. I know that actually caring about poor people and not just faking it is hard. But it would make you a better person. So, who's the fluffiest pop leftist out there? The one with the least amount of substance? Like, who's the Matt Walsh of the left? Well, even though he doesn't have the reach of Matt Walsh, I nominate leftist YouTuber Salari. What strikes me so much about Salari is he does these super long video essays that ultimately just conclude with some pop left cliche. Like he's got this video entitled, "Why Are Right Wing Men So Sad?" And at the end, the answer is basically just, we're mad because we're losing our privilege. And of course, this completely ignores the analysis that, by some measure, poor white people, and especially poor white men, are among the most hated and systematically underrepresented demographic in the United States. It also doesn't help that the areas with the highest sort of population density of poor whites happens to be in areas gripped by the opioid crisis and the collapse of the American manufacturing industry. Gee, it's almost like helping poor and working class people, regardless of their ethnic background or sex, is actually a good idea or something. And as it relates to issues of woke entertainment specifically, that also ignores how our culture's most significant stories, our mythology, happens to be owned by megacorporations through a broken and corrupt copyright system, who then try to change fundamental aspects of those stories and characters, including, but not limited to, ethnic background and sexuality, not out of any genuine love for ethnic or sexual minorities, but cynically to get cheap praise and free advertising from the media, only to immediately cut those changes out in order to appeal to a racist and homophobic foreign market. Look, they already made James Bond buy in Skyfall. If they want to cast Idris Elba as the next James Bond, I'm fine with that. But please have some respect for that material and that character. And you can look at what's going on with, for example, Disney and the Owl House for what happens when representation tries to happen genuinely. Where was I? All right, Salari. So, about a month ago, Salari posted a video entitled "Sigma Males Are Lying to Themselves." Now, I had never heard the term sigma male before, but apparently it's manosphere speak for successful introverts, or more precisely, successful people with traditional leadership skills, but who don't, like leading other people directly. Basically, it's the sort of person who would rather be a consultant than a CEO. I think sigma male is useful in describing certain experiences, including experiences I've had in my own life, especially in high school. I was an Eagle Scout and active in the National Honor Society, which are objective accomplishments, and I was seen by the adults around me as having traditional leadership material. But every time I was given a leadership position, I absolutely hated it. I've gotten much better at avoiding leadership roles now, and I'm not saying this to brag, but fingers crossed, I'm a year and a half away from a PhD in geology at a prestigious university, and I'm probably going to consult for the fossil fuel industry when I'm done. If I were straight and gave pickup artistry any credence, I'd be a textbook Sigma male. So, after 45 minutes, what's his conclusion? Can you guess? Come on, you can guess. Say it with me now. Sigma males are just creepy incels who need to take a shower. What a take, folks. By the end of the video, I felt just on the edge of being personally attacked. Like Salari was lecturing me to take a shower, which isn't a good thing to tell someone who struggles with OCD and already takes 2 to 3 showers and baths a day. So I decided to devote a video to defending the Sigma male and providing the analysis that these pop left sophists always omit. Prologue. So as a point of full disclosure, in case this is your first video, hi, I'm Tommy. I do video essays on how disability rights relate to things like politics, religion, sexuality, and philosophy. And back in June for Pride Month, I came out as involuntarily celibate for medical reasons related to my OCD, my sensory processing disorder, and my gender dysphoria. But in that same video, I also came out as bisexual. So if, let's say after I start consulting for that oil industry job, and I can afford the very expensive sex therapist required to untangle my issues, well, I'm not worried. Grindr is a thing. I don't take pickup artists seriously at all, and I have been in celibate romantic relationships before, and most of those came out of just talking to people. It's just a matter of statistics. The more friends you have, the more likely it is that one of those friendships will turn romantic. As an autistic person, that was very hard, and it involved a lot of painful trial and error, but I think it's been worth it in the long run. Now then. Part 1. How our culture fucks over nice guys. I've never been called a nice guy, at least to my face, and I've never called myself a nice guy. I'm much more bitchy than that. But the pop left line from feminists is that nice guys are really just unlikable, creepy men with poor hygiene who expect sex in exchange for niceness. And when nice guys complain about women choosing bad boys over them, the pop leftists gaslight them and say, oh, no, we're not picking bad boys over nice guys. Well, look, even though this section is purely anecdotal, let me share a little secret with you. Come here. Here. Women are conditioned by society to fetishize abusive assholes and devalue potential romantic relationships with, quote, nice guys. How do I know that? Because I'm bi. Most self-described nice guys, and even most identified incels, are perfectly fuckable. Most of the bad boys are absolute monsters. But because the likes of Twilight weren't aimed at me, I wasn't indoctrinated by society's dating preferences in men. Or maybe we bisexuals just really do have those subterranean standards. But honestly, if most incels would be open to gay experiences, there would be many fewer incels. Like, the feminists know this, and I know they know this, because they complain about the abusive themes in Twilight too. But when social conditioning narratives advance a narrative they disagree with, of course the feminists are nowhere to be found. It's almost like post-first wave feminism is a reactionary misandrist ideology or something. Anyway, on to the meat of the story. Part 2. The Reproductive Advantage of Introverts. If you remember back to 10th grade biology, and I say that because it's 10th grade in most of Pennsylvania, where I live, you may remember the concept of heterozygote vigor. The idea that carriers for genetic disorders are sometimes healthier than either the organism with the genetic disorder or healthy organisms who are not carriers, which can cause even lethal genetic disorders to remain in the population or even increase. The classic example of this is sickle cell anemia, where carriers of the disorder are resistant to malaria. Well, it turns out that introversion may have a contributing genetic cause in many cases. See, in studying the underlying genetics of autism, many people, including Leo Kanner, the guy who first described it in the Western medical literature, noted that parents of autistic people tended to have some autistic traits themselves, including obsession, discomfort with social situations, social language problems, introversion, or as it was called in the literature in certain tests to this day, aloofness. These traits are collectively known as the broader autistic phenotype, BAP, and several quantitative measures of BAP have been developed, the most prominent being one, the BAPQ, the BAP questionnaire. And it turns out with high BAP scores, people are much more likely than the general population to have autistic children. But these traits, especially obsession and ignoring social distractions, i.e. being introverted, also tend to make you good at things like engineering, medicine, and finance. And those professions tend to have a lot of parents who have autistic children. For me personally, my mother doesn't get sarcasm, and my dad, big macho trucker and former biker that he is incredibly uncomfortable in crowded spaces. So even if alpha wolves and alpha humans don't really exist, successful introverts do exist within the paradigm of human biology, within the concept of heterozygote vigor. Sigma males and females exist, basically, and their biological reality is demonstrated through the genetics of autism. Which brings me to Part 3, the wildly ableist history of take a shower. Autistic and ADHD people both often have executive dysfunction, which is difficulty performing tasks that involve a large number of steps rapidly in sequence. And the vast majority of autistic people, present company included, experience sensory processing disorder, which can cause pain at certain sensory experiences. You know what's hard for people with both conditions to do? Getting naked in a cold room, getting into a pounding stream of hot water, executing a complicated series of tasks, getting back out into the cold room while naked with the added factor of evaporative cooling, and scouring your teeth and gums with an abrasive brush and a disgusting cream. Just take a shower is ableist against many neurodivergent people. And in my case, I often can't take my first shower of the day, remember first of 2 or 3, until I've eaten, had coffee, and I'm fully awake to deal with the sensory stimulation. And I still can't brush my teeth conventionally. I use a water pick to get my oral hygiene in. And it does have a toothbrush attachment that works really well. But this is just the tip of the iceberg in ableist social conditioning as it relates to dating and relationships that discourages people, women especially, from dating disabled people, especially autistic people in this case, because we know that so many incels are autistic. We need to understand the rise of the incel movement as, at least in part, a systematic failure to treat social disabilities. I'm getting tired of talking, so just to wrap up here, Sigma males are a socially and biologically useful category, even if pickup artistry is bullshit, and it is. Nice guys really are persecuted, the rhetoric surrounding the incel movement is wildly ableist, and the pop left is fluffy sophistry. I'm Tommy for Creepy Puppets Presents. If you enjoyed this content, like and subscribe for more, and see you later, folks.